Anna Rybkina was a 26-year-old Russian woman with a penchant for rock music and cats. But deep down, she had an intense desire to love and to be loved, even when it hurt. This would sadly prove to be her fatal flaw. In 2016, after her previous relationship of 7 years ended, she found herself searching for love online. Her quest led her to William Hargrove, a 26-year-old mechanic living in the United States of America. He admittedly had a fascination with Russian culture, and their whirlwind online romance soon became a reality when Anna traveled to the state of Oregon in December of 2016 to spend the holidays with William. Their initial meeting was everything Anna had hoped for, and just 10 days later, William proposed with an emerald and white gold ring. Overjoyed, Anna accepted and returned to Russia to prepare for her new life in America. What she didn't know was that William's life in Oregon was far more complicated than he had let on. William had been renting a room inside of a home in Oregon, and the landlady, Michelle Chavez, played a far bigger role in his life than Anna could have ever imagined. Outwardly, Michelle was just a friend, someone offering William a place to stay during a transitional period in his life. But within those walls, an emotional entanglement simmered. Michelle Chavez lived with her husband and her 2 kids, though their marriage had long lost its spark. When she met William Hargrove in 2015, the connection quickly turned into a hidden affair, with Michelle even renting him a part of her home without telling her husband. While Will grew eager for a future together, Michelle wasn't ready and insisted that she'd make the decision on her own terms. By March of 2017, Anna had left her job and her home in Russia to start a new life in Oregon with William. At the airport, they shared a joyful reunion and drove back to the home where William rented his room. Upon arrival, Anna quickly noticed tension in William's house. His landlady Michelle's behavior was hostile and unwelcoming, and she seemed to resent Anna's presence. The situation worsened as Michelle grabbed William by the arm, leading him away from Anna without a word. Feeling slightly unsettled, Anna carried her bags upstairs, catching a faint sound of raised voices from another room. When William returned, he avoided making eye contact, speaking quietly as he told her they needed to leave. William claimed that Michelle had started to develop feelings for him and was not comfortable with Anna being around. Although she was still technically married, Michelle did not like the idea of another woman sharing the home with William. Within days, William and Anna had moved into a small apartment in a nearby town. However, leaving the home did not mean escaping Michelle's wrath. She began bombarding them with threatening messages, demanding that Anna, quote, share William with her or face the consequences. She also inundated William with texts and calls, begging him to choose her. Still, Anna, ever the romantic, tried to remain understanding, brushing it off as a sad and lonely woman emanating pathetic jealousy. Despite the impediments, Anna and William continued planning a simple beach wedding set for March 25th, 2017. But when the day arrived, things took a strange turn. As Anna walked along the coast in her white dress, William lingered in the parking lot, claiming the officiant had canceled at the last minute. In truth, there had never been an officiant. Surveillance footage later revealed William had spent that day at Walmart, buying a ring and talking to Michelle about spending the night together. Despite their failed wedding, Anna remained hopeful about their future. Disappointment in tow, Anna, in her naive way, remained optimistic, returning home with William still in their wedding clothes, stopping only to purchase food from McDonald's. However, William grew distant, spending long hours pacing outside, chain-smoking in front of the apartment complex, and speaking in hushed tones on his phone. Anna suspected Michelle was on the other end of the phone calls, and she was right. Every time Anna tried to confront William, he dodged the questions. Michelle, meanwhile, continued her manipulation. She pressured William to end things with Anna, giving him an ultimatum. He had to choose between her or Anna. On April 16, 2017, under mounting pressure from Michelle, William asked Anna to take a walk with him in the woods, claiming that they needed to talk. Anna, eager and hoping for an honest conversation, agreed. As they walked, William fell silent, then abruptly stopped. In a trembling voice, he told Anna he wanted to call off the engagement. Heartbroken, Anna turned away and walked deeper into the woods. William watched her go, then returned to his car. But he didn't leave. Instead, he opened the trunk, pulled out a borrowed shotgun, and walked back into the woods. He found Anna standing alone in a clearing, lost in thought. William raised the shotgun and fired a single blast to the back of her head. He then scattered trash around her body, hoping to obscure the crime scene. The next day, a local caretaker walking his dog stumbled upon Anna's lifeless body, located on a remote logging road in Alsea, Oregon. Among the discarded trash, investigators found a receipt from Kentucky Fried Chicken, paid for with a credit card. The name on it? William Hargrove. Unaware that police were closing in, William sent Anna a string of text messages, as if she were still alive, desperately trying to build himself a digital alibi. But beneath the surface, he was spiraling. His guilt had twisted into desperation, and he convinced himself that there was only one way to undo what he had done: time travel. Inspired by his favorite sci-fi and fantasy films, William spent the next 72 hours sketching designs for a time machine in a notebook, chain-smoking cigarettes and drinking soda, all while browsing the internet for blueprints and magical spells. He even contacted strangers on WhatsApp and online forums, offering to sell his soul in exchange for a spell to take him back in time. Every time he thought he found a viable spell, he chanted it aloud, eyes shut, only to open them to the same grim reality. Sleep-deprived and mentally unraveling, William eventually gave up his magical conquests and ceased looking for a way to time travel. The very next morning, police knocked on his door. During questioning, officers initially asked bizarre questions, like whether he had eaten at KFC recently. When William confirmed that he had been there, police revealed that they had found the receipt at the crime scene next to his dead fiancé. Confronted with mounting evidence, including his digital footprint, surveillance footage, and the murder weapon with his fingerprints on it, William began to crack. First, he tried to downplay his relationship with Anna, falsely claiming that they'd only been on 2 dates and that she had fabricated the engagement. But investigators uncovered more damning facts. William had withdrawn money from Anna's account after her death in order to pay off his overdue car loan. Further investigation revealed damning text messages exchanged between William and Michelle. The most chilling message from Michelle read, quote, "If she's not gone by Thursday, I'm building a snowman." This was a reference, Michelle later claimed, to a family joke about hiding bodies in snowmen somewhere cold enough that the snow would never melt. It was also found that the engagement ring that William had given Anna actually had belonged to Michelle. Michelle had given William her own wedding ring as a symbol of a future she believed they would share. That same ring was then repurposed and offered to Anna. While Michelle's involvement was by all accounts suspicious, she was never charged with any crime. The evidence overwhelmingly pointed to William, whose fingerprints were found on the shotgun used to kill Anna. In 2020, he was convicted of first-degree murder, along with identity theft and 2 counts of second-degree theft. He was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after just 25 years. Anna Ripkina, a hopeful and kind-hearted young woman who believed in soulmates, paid the ultimate price for falling in love with the wrong man. By all accounts, Anna Ripkina was a gentle soul whose heart brimmed with hope and the belief in destiny, that true love would one day find her. Tragically, her earnest hope to be loved was exploited by William Hargrove, someone who not only betrayed her trust, but broke her heart and the hearts of all who knew her before. The Hadley family lived what seemed to be the quintessential American life. Residing in the quiet suburb of Port St. Lucie, Florida, Blake and Mary Jo Hadley had been married for 25 years. They had moved to the area in 1987 to raise their two sons, Ryan and Tyler. Blake had worked as a watch engineer at the St. Lucie power plant for nearly 30 years. Mary Jo was an elementary school teacher, beloved in their community. Together, they raised their boys with care and discipline, never suspecting the nightmare that would unfold under their own roof. Their youngest son, Tyler Hadley, was once considered a well-rounded, intelligent, and kind child. As a boy, Tyler made friends in the neighborhood, including one Michael Mandel, who would eventually become his best friend. Throughout elementary and middle school, Tyler was said to be a quiet child, very close to his family, and a rare source of trouble. However, things took a dark turn when Tyler reached the age of 12. Those close to the family recall that he slowly began to change. He noticeably began to withdraw from both his family and social life. Compounding the hormonal maelstrom of puberty, he at the same time was diagnosed with hypothyroidism, for which he did take medication, and that medication may have contributed to his sudden weight loss and later emotional instability. By 15, Tyler was skipping school, dabbling in drugs, starting with marijuana, then escalating to pills like Xanax, Percocet, and eventually ecstasy. He began drinking heavily and grew increasingly erratic. His once close relationship with his parents became strained as he resented their efforts to discipline him. His decline was both mental and social. He became irritable, distant, and withdrew from his friends and family. Once considered the quintessential good kid, Tyler was now spiraling. Concerned, Blake and Mary Jo did everything in their power to help their son. They took him to psychiatrists, got him prescribed antidepressants, and even placed him in an outpatient program at a mental hospital for suicidal ideation and substance abuse. At one point, Tyler threatened to end his life by drinking bleach. Despite his parents' efforts, nothing seemed to reach him, and his depression deepened, with his behavior worsening day by day. Despite his parents' efforts to give him structure and resources, Tyler continued to rebel, seeing their rules as harsh and controlling. After several incidents, such as his parents taking away his phone and car keys when he came home drunk, Tyler began to fantasize about killing them. Tyler told several people, including his friend Matthew Noble, that he planned to murder his parents. Some laughed it off. Others thought he was simply, quote, being Tyler, dark, brooding, and as one friend put it, quote, weird. On Saturday, July 16th, 2011, Tyler, now 17 years old, finally put his plan into motion. His older brother Ryan had recently moved away to college, leaving Tyler alone with his parents. At around 1:15 p.m., Tyler posted a vague update of his status on Facebook. Quote, party at my crib, maybe. Very few of his classmates believed him. Tyler wasn't the party-throwing type, and his strict parents would never have allowed it. But what no one knew was that in the hours following that Facebook post, Tyler was preparing to do the unthinkable. That same day, Tyler had stolen his parents' cell phones and had hidden them to prevent them from calling for help. He also used his father's credit card to withdraw over $5,000 at an ATM. Then, after taking 3 ecstasy pills, he retrieved a claw hammer from the garage and approached his mother, who was working on the family computer in the lounge. Later police reports would detail that for several minutes, Tyler stood behind Mary Jo, working up the nerve to strike. Her last word was a single question to her son, quote, why? The report goes on to state that Tyler hit his mother in the head with the hammer. She screamed in agony, and hearing the commotion, his father Blake rushed downstairs from the bedroom. When he saw that Tyler was killing his wife, he cried out the same question that Tyler's mother had asked before her death, quote, why? Tyler's chilling response was posed as a question, why the fuck not? He then turned the hammer on his father, striking him dozens of times. In total, Mary Jo was hit 36 times and Blake 39 times. After murdering his parents, Tyler dragged their bodies into the master bedroom and laid them side by side on the floor. He placed the bloodied hammer between them and began the cleanup process. Using towels, bedding, a sponge, a mop, Clorox wipes, and even coffee grounds, Tyler tried to remove the bloodstains from the lounge and the surrounding areas. However, he wasn't thorough enough, and dried blood remained on the walls, floor, and computer desk. To conceal the bodies, Tyler piled household items on top of them: chairs, a coffee table, books, towels, even miscellaneous trash. He then threw the blood-soaked cleaning materials onto the pile and closed the bedroom door. He took a shower and reportedly stood in front of the bathroom mirror, laughing manically. He then made another Facebook post at about 8:15 p.m., quote, "Party at my house, HMU." By 9 p.m., about 60 teenagers had arrived at the Hadley household. Most didn't even know Tyler personally. He'd always been viewed as standoffish and strange. But the lure of an unattended house party was too strong to ignore. Predictably, the soiree soon turned wild. Teenagers were smoking marijuana, drinking alcohol, trashing the house, blaring music, and urinating on the neighbors' lawns. Unknown to the attendees, they were playing beer pong just a few feet away from the bloodstains. Some even stubbed out their cigarettes on the bloodied carpet. A few guests reportedly noticed something was off. They recall Tyler seeming anxious, popping pills, and talking morosely about death. But no one could have imagined the truth. When asked about his parents, Tyler gave various answers. He first said they were in Georgia, then Orlando, then he just simply said they were out, or that they didn't even live there. With the party in full swing, nobody questioned it further. The most chilling part? The murder scene was right there. The blood-spattered computer desk where his mother had been killed was still in use. One guest later recalled that the beer pong ball had landed in a puddle of dark liquid, possibly blood, and that they had simply rinsed it off and continued playing. When a group of boys from the party walked into the neighbor's front lawn and started peering into her window, she called the police. A couple of officers from the Port St. Lucie Police Department arrived within minutes. When they rang the Hadley's doorbell, Tyler told the 20 or so people left at the party to stay quiet and to go and hide in his room. Tyler then opened the door. The cops explained to him that there had been a noise complaint, and Tyler made some excuse to them about friends being over and that they'd keep it down. The cops eventually left. At around 1 a.m., Tyler pulled his best friend, Michael Mandel, aside. He said, quote, "Mike, I killed my parents." Michael recalls laughing, thinking it was a joke, and saying, quote, "No, you didn't, Tyler. Shut up." He recalled that Tyler's response changed everything. Tyler looked at him and said, quote, "Mike, look at the driveway. Their cars are still here. They're not in Orlando. I killed them." Still unconvinced, Michael asked to see the proof. Tyler showed him a bloody footprint in the garage and led him upstairs. There, he saw that blood was visible on the door of the master bedroom. When Tyler opened the door, the first thing Michael saw was a leg sticking out from under a pile of debris. Realizing the horrifying truth, Michael did not immediately call the police. Instead, he stayed at the party, stunned and unsure what to do. Before leaving, he took a selfie with Tyler, a moment that would later go viral and would symbolize the bizarre horror of the night. Michael explained it as, quote, "the last picture I'd ever take with my best friend." By 2:30 a.m., more people began heading back to the party. Paranoid that the cops were going to return, Tyler began checking the windows, closing the blinds, and turning off the lights in the front room. Just before 3 a.m., people finally, to Tyler's relief, began to leave. Michael Mandel was also just about to leave the party when he grabbed 10 Percocet pills that Tyler had told him he was going to use to commit suicide and hid them in the hall closet. Then he recalls leaving the Hadley house and deciding that he needed to do something about what he'd seen in the home and what Tyler had confessed to him. He then made a call to Crime Stoppers at 4:24 a.m., a local crime hotline, and told them everything. At around 4:30 a.m., 2 officers from the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office arrived at Tyler's house. Peering through the window, they saw Tyler pacing, muttering to himself. He then grabbed a stack of books from a bookshelf near the front door, taking them into the back room and dumping them onto the floor. The police recall he did this 2 more times, bringing books to the back room and dumping them on the floor. The officers then knocked on the front door and rang the bell. At first, there was no answer. Then Tyler turned off the lights and slowly opened the door. When asked if any adults were home, Tyler cryptically replied, quote, "You can't go in there. Don't go in there." The officers entered anyway and immediately noticed blood and damage throughout the house. They forced open the locked bedroom, and there they discovered Blake and Mary Jo Hadley's bodies, buried under the pile of household items. Tyler Hadley was arrested and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. Tyler originally pled not guilty to the charges, but on February 19, 2014, he changed his plea to no contest to 2 counts of first-degree murder with a weapon. Because he was 17 at the time of the murders, he was not eligible for the death penalty in Florida. While awaiting sentencing, he would sign autographs for inmates by taking a news article about the murder and writing, quote, "It's hammer time," across the article, and then signing it with his nickname, Hammer Boy. During his sentencing hearing in late 2014, the chief medical examiner testified that Mary Jo Hadley, who had suffered 36 blows to the head and to the back, had been alive during every part of the attack, eventually bleeding out to death. Blake Hadley, who had been hit 39 times, had also been reportedly conscious during most of the attack. Tyler's defense argued that he was mentally unstable and sought a lighter sentence, requesting 2 consecutive 30-year terms with parole eligibility after 20 years. However, the prosecution highlighted the brutal, premeditated nature of the crime and the cold, inhumane actions of Tyler in the aftermath of the slayings. Tyler, they alleged, using evidence from his communications, had planned this for weeks. He had told his friends, he had hidden his parents' phones, he'd cleaned up, he had thrown a party over his parents' dead bodies. This, they said, merited a far harsher sentence than what the defense was asking. In jail, Tyler tried to fake insanity, claiming to hear voices, but fellow inmates saw through it. One inmate, Justin Tooney, remarked, quote, "No. Hell no, he's not insane, not even close. There's definitely something wrong with him, but he's not crazy." In court, Tyler's older brother Ryan gave an emotional testimony, pleading with the judge to give Tyler the maximum sentence. Tyler also spoke at the sentencing, expressing remorse for the murders and apologizing for what he'd done, saying, quote, "You can't apologize and make amends for the horrible acts I've done that I've committed. Not a single day goes by that I don't think about my parents or my whole family that I've affected by this. I'd like to direct this to my entire family, all of you, everyone, all of you. I don't expect forgiveness. I know that they will never forgive me, and I'm not expecting forgiveness." The prosecution emphasized that it was not just the murders themselves that showed a lack of humanity, but the party, the photos, the lies, and the eerie fact that for 5 hours a group of teenagers unknowingly danced in a house of death. On March 20th, 2014, Tyler Hadley was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. In 2018, after a Supreme Court ruling against mandatory life sentences for juveniles, Tyler's sentence was reconsidered and amended to life with the possibility of parole after just 25 years. Tyler will be eligible for parole in 2039, at the age of 45, free then to live a life that could last for decades longer than what he allowed his parents. He is currently incarcerated at the Okeechobee Correctional Institution. As for the Hadley house, the scene of the shocking crime, it stood empty for years. Vandals and curiosity seekers would sometimes visit, but nobody ever wanted to live there again. In April of 2015, the house was finally demolished.